Before I left for Japan, I made one simple request. I asked for questions from my Discord to see what they thought about my future journey. Now, I intended to do that within a few days of arriving, so I could have my mind fresh, and it's New Year's Eve. And I arrived on the 30th of July, so I'm over halfway through my trip, which means I really can't delay this any longer. Today we're going to go through those questions from my Discord and see why am I here. So first, what are you going to do in Japan? Well, as the follow-up question goes, are you going to film videos in Japan and stream Genshin? Obviously, I have been filming a lot of videos in Japan, but the crazy thing is, right now, I've uploaded about 10 videos about Tokyo. I have about 20 videos just like in here and on my hard drive, just like needing to be edited. Because while I've been traveling, it's too much to do. So you can see some of the things I have done, but my answer to this will have changed a lot over the last 6 months. Originally, I thought I was going to spend 12 months in 12 different cities, a month in each. I've currently spent time in at least like 30 cities, and sometimes even just a day in them. So completely different answer there. What am I doing? I'm just going around and I'm exploring, I'm seeing the sights, I'm recording it to show people here, and just having a blast really, just freedom, experiencing freedom. Am I going to stream Genshin? I have streamed it a few times, but as I found, there's two things that get in the way. One, if I'm travelling, the Wi-Fi is often really bad, or two, when the Wi-Fi is good, there tends to be silence rules in place for times that people in the UK could watch my streams. So it's been difficult. I did want to do more, and I haven't, and I'm sorry, but when we can, we will do. On that note, is there a lot of Genshin/Honkai merch there? Now, I don't know anything about Honkai, so I can't see that, but there is a lot of Genshin merch. So just myself, if you look at my bag, I've got a little Shing on here, which is adorable. I got this little figure as well, which was just 200 yen, so it was a steal. But a lot of the merch is quite expensive. And I've also got a drink coaster, but that's somewhere in my storage. Suffice to say, yes, there's a lot of Genshin merch around, but my suitcase is overflowing, and I've got another 6 months worth of things to buy. So until I finish travelling, I'm not going to be seeing too much more of it. Ironically, I ordered this Kashing figure, and it's being shipped to the UK, to my parents' house as we speak. So even though I bought it from Japan, and I'm in Japan, I don't have the storage space for it, so I'll get to open that in a few months' time. How come you're going to Japan for a whole year and not a couple of weeks or a month? Is it for the culture or certain merchandise, or... Well, originally I was actually going to go for five weeks, and I had plans a few days before the coronavirus exploded to actually do that. I was that close to booking, but that wasn't to be. And over the course of the pandemic, I saved a bit more money than I thought I'd have originally. I compared the cost, and it was about 3 times as much more to spend a year than to spend 5 weeks, so that felt like a no-brainer. And I also discovered working holiday visas, which basically let you travel the country, do whatever you want, other than undermine public morals, but there's a separate video on that. I've currently been here over 6 months. If I was on a tourist visa, I would have had to leave by now. Because of this visa, I'm free to just explore. So that's functionally how come. But in terms of why I wanted to spend so long of my life here, after COVID, I was, scared of the virus a lot more than other people. I stayed inside a lot. I didn't do anything even afterwards. I was one of the last people in my town wearing a mask. Whereas in Japan, you still need a mask every single day, so I keep one in my pocket. Japan is more cautious. That's not to say it's perfect. Cases are now rising again. But the fact that the country was more concerned about COVID matched my mindset a lot better. And then something else, if you go for a month or a couple of weeks, you're on holiday. I wanted to actually feel like living here. I've never lived outside the UK before, and Japan is the place I'd want to do it. I've studied a bit of a language, not nearly enough, but I know some basic things for some very niche situations, like, oh, do you have a points card? I do. So I wanted to have that experience of living somewhere else, not being the majority, and having to kind of see what that's like. It was also just a chance to have a completely flipped life from COVID and worrying and all that, to just exploring and seeing the world, and all of that kind of pent-up desire to do things I could then unleash. But a lot of those reasons so far, I could have gone to any country, so why Japan specifically? Well, there's a few reasons for that. I have been interested in Japan basically forever. When I was 11 years old, 27 now, spoilers, I visited with my family for 2 days. And this was a layover as part of a longer holiday. And all our family members agreed it was the best place we visited. And I've wanted to go back ever since. And that's because it's very different culture, very different food, very interesting. A lot of the hobbies I had at the time, less so now, but still a lot, come from Japan. So there was more things for that, and the music I like as well. right now I'm wearing a band t-shirt from Garnadelia, which is also signed, and that kind of live music. I hadn't been to a live music show outside of Japan before because there's just been no bands I've been interested in. But in Japan, I've now been 10 times in 6 months, and I love it. This is something I could not get anywhere else because of just my music taste. If I found musicians in England that I liked, fantastic. And it's not just that, there's been other events. I've enjoyed Tokyo Game Show, I've enjoyed the Nintendo live event, I've enjoyed just going to all the places that I've heard about for so long. One side of the culture, the food's been delicious. The other side of the culture is such a pretty country. It changes so much with the different seasons. The fact that there's shrines literally everywhere means that you're always rewarded a little bit for exploring in any direction, basically. It's a good country. Here's the thing. There's a lot of downsides to Japan, which people may or may not know about, but the way that I'm experiencing it over this year dodges most of them. I have had some run-ins with the paperwork being awkward, and if you try and deviate ever so slightly along these lines, you get crushed, and I've had some fun times with that, trying to work out how addresses work. But for the most part, this is like the way to enjoy Japan the most, with the least downside so far, so I'm loving it. Oh, and the last question was, is there any specific reason why you decided to go to Japan? I think I've just answered that in that one. I put a double in there, sorry, but there's many reasons, and I've discovered more reasons as I've gone through this year. I didn't expect to like the varied food so much. I knew I liked ramen, but other things like udon and yakiniku, and there's other different sauces I found that I didn't think I'd like, and I've enjoyed some more curries I didn't like before. I'm still like vaguely fussy, but I've got better, and I appreciate that Japanese food has shown me some of that. And part of that is because I don't know how to say I don't want this with it or whatever, so I just have to take it. And that's the questions I had for this time. So if you have any more for the next one of these that I'll record far too late, leave them in the comments below, on the Discord, any way you like. But thanks so much for watching.